Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway account and says, I, 33 female, have been with my boyfriend, 31 male, for a year and 3 months. I'm thinking about breaking up with him because he doesn't like that I give expensive gifts and money to my parents. First, I want to apologize because this might be a long one. I'm freaking out a little and need some advice from strangers. I want to just give some background on everyone involved here first. Both of us are doctors. I finished residency last year and he's still in residency. We met at the hospital we work at. We got into a fight because he saw me buying a plane ticket for them to come visit me. I've boxed the paragraphs and you can skip if it's too long. Both of my parents were doctors. They both made a lot of money, especially when you combine their income. However, we have lived as a middle-class family, while their peers and friends lives in fancy properties, some of them more than one, and nice luxury cars. We were pretty much your average suburban household. This is because they have always liked to be frugal when it comes to spending money on themselves. They would send money to Mexico for their family every month and give to charity. And when I started middle school, they started doing Doctors Without Borders. When I was 16, they used to take me to their medical missions to see how fortunate I was. The thing that they do like to spend a lot for themselves is traveling. I've been to so many countries before I was 18 and learned so much, but even then, we were pretty frugal. While they can afford fancy hotels, they choose not to. Recently, they've been using Airbnb. My mum does collect bags though. One time I caught her looking at a Louis Vuitton bag online. One was worth $1,000 and I asked her why she doesn't buy one. She says it doesn't make sense for her to buy something that expensive just for her. So I told myself that's the first thing I would do when I make it. Another thing they spent a lot of money on is me. One time when I was in college, I told them I had a backache and they bought me a Tempur-Pedic. Is that like a mattress or something? I never even asked for it. I also got a new car when I got into college. I go to do study abroad as well because of their money. I started working part-time jobs because I didn't want to take advantage of my parents. They were already paying for my tuition and rent. All I had to pay for was utilities and food, so I was able to put a lot of money on my savings from their help. When I got into medical school, I couldn't work as much, but they still provided for me. When I finally finished school and started residency, they retired and moved back home to Mexico. Their retirement and savings allow them enough money, they don't need any help from me. I got to keep the house which is already paid for. I just have to pay for property tax and utilities. It's a 4-bedroom home, so my boyfriend and 3 other people live with me. We all divide the cost of the property tax and utilities, so it comes out to about $400 a month. When you're working as a resident, you still aren't making that much money. It's only enough to get by. Given that I live in an expensive city, $400 monthly is really helpful. Now, here's the problem. Thank you if you're still here, by the way. I'm very, very grateful to my parents. All my colleagues have about $200,000 debt. I barely have any loans. I've always wanted to give back to my parents because of this. So when I was done with residency and started making a lot, I finally bought my mum a Louis Vuitton purse and my dad this helicopter toy he likes. I also took them out to a nice fancy dinner. When I gave them their gifts, my mum started crying and told me to return it because it's too much. I told her she needs to keep it and I'll be offended if she didn't. We then had a nice heart-to-heart and I told them that I am who I am because of them, and they told me how much they are proud of me. I told my boyfriend about this and he just said, ugh, she's so emotional. Which is true, she cries easily. Sometimes I randomly send my parents cash if I have extra after spending my money on important expenses, shopping and my savings. I tell them to use it on themselves for fun. Now, I know that I won't always do this because when I have a family I'll be prioritizing them. I know this because it's what my parents tell me. But I want to do this while I still can. It makes me happy. My boyfriend and I got into a huge fight today because he saw me buying them a plane ticket to come here. He told me that I've already bought myself a ticket to see them. Why do I still have to buy a ticket for them to come here? That should be their expense. It's true, they can afford it. However, they can only afford to see me maybe once a year since they're only relying on retirement money. I'd like to see them at least more than that. He says they've created a spoiled, rotten child, saying that my parents enabled me by giving me so much. This confuses me because when I do something for my parents, He tells me how codependent they are, and it's their job as parents to help me. I called him a hypocrite, and told him he's basically living off my parents by living in the house that they paid for, and if he doesn't like it, then he should just move and live in a $2,000 apartment like everyone else. He's in a hotel now, but he said he will come home tomorrow morning. Honestly don't know what to do after that fight. There was a lot of yelling, and he destroyed this sentimental vase my grandmother made for me. So I suggest couples therapy. I'm really in tears as I write this because he's the first serious boyfriend I've had in a very long time. TLDR, my boyfriend and I have different opinions on how I should give back to my parents, who have been very supportive parents in my life. How do I make this work? Should I even try to make it work? Edit, my roommate / best friend just came home and I've told her what happened. She actually told me some red flags about boyfriend that I've never noticed. We're going out to talk some more, while updating replied to everyone else. Thank you for all the helpful advice. I've read them all and took them all to heart. The bloody cheeky so-and-so. So he's living in a paid-off house her parents gave her, paying about $400 a month, while apparently knowing he'd otherwise be looking at something like $2,000 in rent. And he's complaining that she spends too much money on those same parents. And I'm not sure why, but this one really bothered me, that he was mocking your mum being sensitive about you giving her a gift. I thought that was such a wonderful, lovely thing to do for your mum, and her being, emotional about it just shows how much it really did mean to her. For him to then mock it like that, it just took the piss for me. And I know as always it's very easy for me to say, I'll be wrapping this up to you've only been together for 15 months, you're not married, you don't share your finances currently, and you're currently spending your income, your disposable income, after expenses and savings, how you want to. And I'll be questioning, as things go on in the future, is this going to get better? And it already sounds from the edit, there's already some behaviors that's been noticed, so we shall see what happens next. A commenter comes in and says, I created my first Reddit account to tell you, don't you dare let that man back into the house your parents worked for. He destroyed a vase your abuela made you, which I believe is grandmother or grandma in Spanish. What the fuck are you thinking? Do you think they worked so hard and loved you so well for you to crap all over your own self-respect by being with a man who would do such a thing? This guy's a capital L loser who wouldn't know love if it bit him in the face. Hope is a good breakfast, but it's a bad supper. This man has shown you who he is. Don't you dare spit in your family's face by making this arsehole a part of it. Hope says, oh, thanks for taking the time to make an account for me. I love your username. I stopped crying for a bit, but this comment made me tear up again because you're right. Commenter says, he sounds pretty resentful. Calling you spoiled and rotten and complaining about how you spend your own money doesn't bode well for your relationship. And then he destroyed your property over this. Yeah, no, that's not okay. Do you want to be with someone who yells at you and doesn't respect your things? Hope you reply saying, no, I shouldn't be with someone like him. It's funny, when this argument was going on, I was thinking break up immediately. This is going to sound pathetic, but one of the reasons why I'm second guessing is because I honestly don't know how I'm going to find someone else with my kind of schedule. I figured dating another doctor would make it easier, but I never expected someone so stubborn like him. If I'm being honest, if that's the only reason why I chose to stay, then it's not really worth it, right? So, nearly 2 months later, Opie comes in with an update and says, I wrote this update about a month ago, so this happened the day after the original thread. Here is the link to the old thread, and shares the link. Thanks for all the positive comments. I just want to address some questions I got asked before updating. I can box that section again and you can skip that if you're not interested. The update will be below that. There was a point about how my parents seemed too good to be true and that they were overcompensating for working too much by throwing money at me. First, they aren't perfect. I can name a few things that annoys me about them, but they are just irrelevant to my current issue. Namely, they used to be overcompetitive that I've decided I can't play games with them. Ugh, bowling is not fun to play with them, let's just say that. Also, I don't believe they were throwing money at me. If they ever overcompensated for working too much, it was family vacations and a set day every week where we'd hang out as a family. I felt they balanced things perfectly because I never felt like they were those parents that kept pushing you to hang out with them. At the same time, I never felt like they were picking their work over me. There was also a question about why I dated boyfriend in the first place. He does have some admirable characteristics. Namely, I noticed how ambitious and hardworking he was. He also drops a lot of things to prioritize me. I remember when we first started dating, but we weren't exclusive. We and our mutual friends planned a huge trip a month in advance. I got sick 2 days before, so I couldn't go, so he didn't go either to take care of me. Okay, the update. By the way, these quotes aren't exact words we said. I just think it's easier to read with quotation marks. My best friend came home as I was reading your replies. I told her what happened and she told me that it's honestly not that surprising. We then decided to talk at a small bar and she told me there were many things she didn't like about him. She was actually surprised I dated him in the first place. First of all, there's no denying that he is an ambitious person. While I had everything easy, he didn't. He depended on no one to get where he is today. However, she told me that he's also a very intense person. At the hospital, he's very hard to work with. When interns make a small mistake, he'll ask them what school they graduated from. If it's a prestigious school, he will flat out tell them, "What? Do they take anybody now?" If it's a low-tier school, he'll say, "Well, no wonder why." He made one volunteer who's an undergrad cry at one point. At home, he's just as difficult to live with, she says. For example, if my roommates cook something, they usually eat and then wash the dishes after they're done eating. However, if he sees them eating and the dishes are there, he'll say something like, "Wow, there are some lazy people here," or "Do I have to wash everything?" She said that even leaving a fork becomes an issue. I'm not proud at this part, but I kinda got mad at her for a minute. I was drunk at that point and needed someone to blame and asked her why she let me waste my time with someone without telling me all of these red flags. She told me that these issues were just minor problems and she didn't feel the need to get in the way over something trivial, especially since I was happy with him. However, she said that this fight we got into now is not trivial and advised me that it isn't something I should let go. So she suggested we grab some more wine and pack up his things. It was so fun just being so drunk and attempting to fit everything in a small suitcase. Honestly, we spent more time laughing than packing. The next day he came home. At that point I was 85% sure of breaking up with him, and I still wanted to hear what he had to say. Sometimes people make mistakes and you can really see a person is worth it by how they fix them. Before he went home, he just kept texting me about how he's sorry about the way I took his criticisms. And he said it's actually good that someone criticizes me instead of kissing my ass like everyone else. So not really an apology. When he saw the suitcase though, he started to apologize and say he was wrong. Have you guys ever heard a child apologize? You know that tone they make when they're just trying to say what they know their parents want to hear so it can be done with already? Well, that's how he sounded. Then there was some silence and I just said, "Well, what about the vase?" And he said, "What about the vase?" I just looked at him and didn't give him an explanation, because he should know what about the vase. So I wait for him to give an explanation. He says, "Okay, I'm sorry, that was mean. Maybe we can probably take the pieces, dull them out and make them into a charm bracelet." I told him if I wanted a bracelet, I would have asked for one. I wouldn't say this out loud, but I kind of like the bracelet idea. But I like the idea of a mosaic more than a user suggested. And thank you to another user for offering to restore it. There was another awkward silence, so I spoke. Do you know how annoying it is for me to do something nice for my parents, and then there's a negative Nancy on my shoulder shaking his head or making rude comments? You take away the moment when you do that. So he said, "Yeah, I can see that's annoying. I'm just worried that if we get married, you'll always have your family. Your parents themselves always sent money to their parents, and I didn't want that to be something I have to look forward to. It can become a burden." I told him I didn't believe that was the reason. Even if it was, it's just horrible to think that helping family members is a burden. I said, "You know full well that my parents don't need our help. If anyone was going to be a burden, it's you and your loans." I know that sounds horrible, but I was getting really angry at that point. So he told me that's exactly what the problem was. He has loans, I don't. That I'm just so lucky in my life. I told him I know I'm lucky, and I'm glad he recognizes I'm lucky. So what's the problem? But he went on. Do you think you would have been a doctor without your parents' help? And maybe you got into a school with their connections. I told him if I was going to use my connections, then I would have tried to get into his school or my parents' school. He and my parents went to a prestigious medical school, while I went to an average one. He replied by saying, "That's the difference between the two of us. While he's so ambitious and won't settle for less, I'll be happy with an average school." Ugh, it's like talking to a brick wall. Either I'm using my parents for connections or I'm not ambitious enough. At that point I was just so exhausted. I was hungover and his voice sounded like nails on a chalkboard. I just told him to leave and I'd rather our mutual friend bring the rest of his stuff. He asked me if we're breaking up over this and told me that he can't help he feels that way. He'd try not to voice his issues about my parents next time. I said to him that I can't be around him knowing that he's thinking something negative while I'm around my family. Even if he's not saying anything, I'll still see it in his face. Honestly, don't get what his deal or where his insecurity is coming from. Okay, if you look at us on paper, he's definitely the more interesting one. He went through a lot of hardships as a teen, graduated at the top of his class and participated in many different projects and charity. No one is denying this. I don't understand why he has to keep proving himself. I, on the other hand, am your typical med school applicant. Sure, I got good grades and did the required things to get in, but not enough to set me apart from other applicants like he did. I would have been happy going to a Caribbean school if I can still match residency. So yeah, we broke up. He texted me a few times. I haven't responded, so he texts me with, "You know it's illegal to kick someone out without notice." I don't really know what to do about that part of my situation, so I have to figure that part out. Thanks. TLDR, best friend told me he was no good. I decided to hear what he had to say. He made things worse, so I broke up with him. Going to try to build a mosaic out of the vase, and I'm looking forward to doing that. Commenter says, "This sounds like the right decision. I'm sure you know this, but don't take it at face value that you can't kick him out. Research your local laws. If he's not on the lease or a co-owner, you may be able to." Obi says, "Yeah, thankfully. He only said that to get a reaction from me. I believe he's living with a friend now." In the update, it was the way that no matter what she did, he found a way to criticize her. I'm just glad that OP realized this wasn't really about buying her parents gifts at all and ended the relationship, and I really hope that the mosaic does work out as well. I found his solution funny, that he'd just hold his tongue basically in the future, like that's actually going to work out. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Radio HD 1996, and it says, "My 18 female friend, 22 male, won't stop calling me a teetotaler. I didn't mind it until today, when he left 3 bottles of vodka outside my dorm room door." There's a trigger warning on this one of alcoholism, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description, along with timeline below. Thank you. Throw away because some of my friends know my real username, and I don't want them to see this. I'm sorry if this is messy. All of this just happened and I'm still disturbed. I don't drink alcohol because I don't like the taste and because I don't find being drunk appealing. Simple enough, right? I don't judge or berate people who drink, and everyone I've met at college has treated me with the same respect. At the beginning of spring semester, this kid named Dylan came back to the speech team that I belonged to after spending the fall semester studying abroad. He was a senior. During the fall semester, the other seniors didn't throw any speech team bonding parties, and when Dylan learned this, he started throwing parties every weekend. I went to the first few, but eventually stopped going because everyone got really obnoxious. At the first party, Dylan called me over to take shots. When I explained to him that I don't drink, he scoffed and kept pressuring me to do it. He didn't stop until another senior on the team stepped in to tell him to leave me alone. He apologized and never pressured me again. I still went to the next few parties because I love spending time with the team, but eventually, everyone's behavior got to be too much. Dylan was no longer pressuring me to drink, but he kept calling me a teetotaler, someone who abstains from drinking alcohol. He never used it in a way that got under my skin, otherwise I would have told him to stop. He just kept referring to me as the teetotaler, both when he was talking to me and when he was talking to the other people. It made our team members angry, and even though I told them it wasn't a big deal, they were still pissed at Dylan. This was when I stopped going to his parties. I didn't want to deal with neither my team members nor Dylan in their arguments about an issue that honestly didn't bother me, especially because they only argued when they were drunk and consequently were getting absolutely nowhere. After I stopped going to his parties, Dylan started talking to me more. During practice, he would partner with me and help me write my speeches. I improved so much this semester because of him. He even started to hang out with me outside of speech team. We got lunch together, he helped me study, we're in the same major. He became a friend that I had trusted and genuinely liked. He called me a teetotaler whenever he got the chance to, even when alcohol was absolutely not within the context, but it was clear that he was just teasing me. I have a thick skin, so it doesn't bother me when people tease me for not drinking. For me personally, I'd rather be sober than passed out on the floor at a frat party. Most people who tease me for not drinking end up in that situation. So yeah, I only have an issue where people pressure me to drink, which Dylan did once and then never did again, and he did apologize and he seemed sincere. So for a while I was okay with being friends with him. Then today, when I got to my dorm room, I found 3 bottles of vodka lined up outside of it. The one in the middle had a red bow tied on the neck. Taped to the bow was a note that said, winking emoji, heart, -D. Instantly I started panicking. I didn't know when they got there, how long they'd been there, or how many people saw them sitting there. I left early this morning and I came back just now. It's 8ish, so I have literally no time frame to work with. I grabbed the bottles and put them in my mini fridge. I know it was Dylan. Who else could it have been? Even though he graduated a few days ago, he must still be on campus. Plus, he knows that I'm staying here for the summer, and he knows where my dorm room is. I'm extremely creeped out. I've never had any romantic feelings for Dylan. I only see him as a friend. Clearly he feels differently, but why would he feel the need to put 3 bottles of vodka outside my dorm room door to show me that? That's super fucking weird, especially because I'm living on school property and I could get in gigantic trouble for this. No school authorities have contacted me yet, so I'm guessing that nobody important saw it, but I'm still wary. I don't want to be friends with Dylan anymore, but should I talk to him to figure out why he did this? I want to know why, but I know that it isn't always best for people to know the reasons behind things like this. If I should talk to him, what should I say? Also, what should I do with the vodka? Any suggestions barring drink it are welcome. Edit. So I've calmed down now. I dumped the vodka down the sink and threw the bottles away. I haven't talked to Dylan yet. No one from my school has contacted me yet. I'll elaborate a bit more on Dylan as a person, because now I can think straight. He loves to drink and get shit-faced. That's why he was so upset that the seniors on the speech team didn't throw any parties last semester, and it's why he kept pressuring me to drink at his first party. He's also very flirty with everyone meaning all the girls he knows. He's flirty with me even though I never flirt back. He's flirty with his female friends unless they have boyfriends. He's flirty with girls he meets at parties. He hooks up whenever he gets the chance. In terms of pressuring girls to do things with him, I've never seen it happen, but one time a guy on the speech team was trying to take advantage of a girl while she was drunk at one of Dylan's parties, and Dylan stepped in, yelled at him and asked him to leave. So he seems to care about consent. If he didn't, I certainly wouldn't have been friends with him for so long. Neither of these parts of his personality crossed my mind that much until now. I don't think he's an arsehole, just creepy. His flirtatious behavior flattered me, but because he behaves that way with everyone, I didn't think anything of it. That's clearly not true anymore though. I know that I should have included all of this when I originally posted, and I'm sorry that I didn't. I was in panic mode. I was honestly very disturbed, and I was thinking about all of this when I originally posted, but it never made its way into the post, and that's my fault. I hope my edit makes everything more clear. Is it me, or I didn't read that vodka as romantic? I mean, the wink and emoji with a heart note might have intended to make it look flirtatious, but the actual gift is bizarre given everything that's happened. You know, he knows she doesn't drink, and in fact, it felt like her not drinking has become this weird fixation of his, like him pressuring her initially, repeatedly labeled her as the teetotaler, and left 3 bottles of vodka outside her room. That's not like, I like you and wanted to get you something. It's almost giving something you specifically know they don't want, because you've made one of their boundaries into a running joke. Definitely creepy ass behavior in my opinion. Commenter also says, I wouldn't read this as a romantic gesture honestly, but a rather idiotic continuation to a stupid joke as a graduation gift. Some people who drink see those who don't as actively passing judgment on their choices and have a problem with that. Those people are morons, but they definitely exist. Sounds like Dylan falls squarely into this category. I'll just text him and tell him that everyone on your floor really enjoyed his leaving present and suggest he ask what they'd like next time he's feeling so generous. On the off chance that this was a romantic gesture, which again I'm 99% sure it wasn't, just to make it clear you read it as buddies. On the other hand, if this was one last dig at your teetotalism, this has shown that you're still cool with other people drinking while making a different choice for yourself. Plus it'll make it clear that he wasted money, which will hopefully hurt at least a bit. Opie comes in with the update and says, I'm back with the update. Thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. I appreciate it very much. I woke up the morning after I originally posted to find a text from Dylan. It was sent at 3:47 AM, so pretty late. It said, did you get my present? With a bunch of winky faces and laughing emojis. It also looked like gibberish. What I typed out here is what I think he was trying to say. And that was after looking at it for a few minutes. I think he was drunk when he texted me. I text back, yes I got it and my floor really enjoyed it. Where are you going to get them the next time you're feeling generous? He didn't respond. A little while later, my RA knocked on my door and asked to talk to me. She said that she had seen 3 bottles of vodka outside my door the day before and asked me where they went. I told her they were given to me by a friend and that because I don't drink, I poured the vodka down the drain and threw the bottles away. When she heard that, she walked down the hall to the trash cans, which hadn't been emptied yet, and she found the bottles. I left the note and the bow on the 1 bottle. When she saw them, she didn't say anything for a few seconds, and then she told me that because I haven't been problematic before, she wasn't going to report me. She said that she knows I don't drink, and that she thought it was very unlikely that I kept the bottles, but she just wanted to be sure. I thanked her and went back to my room. I'm happy she was so understanding. About an hour after I talked to my RA, someone knocked on my door. It was Dylan. As soon as he walked in, I could tell that he was drunk. I don't know if you can wake up drunk from having been drunk the night before, but it seemed like Dylan was experiencing that, or maybe he was drinking early in the morning. Either way, it was clear that he had been drinking. He asked me why I gave the bottles to the people on my floor. It was only meant for you, he said. I told him that he knows I don't drink and asked him what the fuck was he thinking putting 3 bottles of vodka outside my door in a school dorm where I could get in huge trouble for alcohol possession, especially because I'm underage. He started laughing his head off. It was a joke, he said. I angrily told him that I didn't find it funny because it could have gotten me in serious trouble. He kept laughing until I said, I don't mind you calling me a teetotaler, but what you did really creeped me out and it's grounds for not being friends anymore. When he heard this, he stopped laughing and looked at me. For longer than a few seconds, it was turning into a stare. I asked him why he was looking at me like that, and he just said it was a joke before he started cracking up again. At that point, I decided that I was getting nowhere, so I asked him to leave. He started to protest, but when I told him that I would tell my RA if he didn't leave, he left pretty quickly. He came back again that night around 9 PM. When I opened the door, he asked me if he could come in. Surprisingly, he seemed sober, so I said yes. After I let him in, he apologized for making me so angry, but he admitted that the only thing he remembered about this morning was that I was super pissed at him, and he wanted to know why. I reminded him that he left 3 bottles of vodka outside my door and I live in a school dorm. He kind of had an oh yeah shit look on his face, and I told him this. He apologized and said that it was really stupid of him to do, and that it was a dumb joke. He asked me where my RA was. If she hasn't talked to you yet, I'll tell her I gave them to you, he said. I assured him that my RA already talked to me. I'm not in trouble, she knows they weren't mine. He seemed relieved to hear that. I asked him if he was drunk when he put the bottles in front of my door. He said, maybe, and laughed. He said he put them there in the evenings, but they weren't sitting there for more than a few hours. I did some thinking then. If he was drunk when he put the bottles there, he was probably drunk when he wrote the note, with a heart and a winky face. Because of that, I didn't mention the note. Also, the fact that he was drunk this morning, and that he couldn't remember why I was angry with him this morning, seemed like red flags to me. I brought this up and said, I'm kind of worried about you. Which I am, this is the truth. You drink way more than this is normal, even for a partying college senior. You should be careful, you know. He laughed it off and said it wasn't a big deal. I pressed on and said, you're right at the age to stop this now. I don't want you to turn into an alcoholic. He laughed again and made an "oh, the little teetotaler cares about me" type jokes. I got frustrated at this and asked, why'd you even drink so much anyway? He stopped laughing and looked kind of puzzled for a few seconds. His response was that it makes everything easier. I asked him to elaborate. He then looked somewhat uncomfortable and didn't make eye contact with me. I told him that if he drinks this much and it's because it makes everything easier for him, that's not a good sign. He shrugged and said nothing still. I guess all this time everyone has assumed that he just drinks a lot because he's just another moronic college student and no one has ever asked him directly why he drinks so much. That combined with the fact that he's always extra flirty when he's drunk made me more concerned. He's flirty when he's sober too, but he never actually takes it further unless he's drunk, at least from what I've seen and heard. He asked me why I was being so quiet. I asked, have you ever done anything seriously romantic with a girl, like telling her you like her or asking her out while you were sober? He gave me an apprehensive look, but then said, no, not really. I asked him what he meant, and for the next half hour he talked to me about his experience with girls. I learned that he's never had a serious girlfriend, just flings. He carries out most of his romantic interactions while he's drunk because he feels stupid doing it when he's sober. By the end of this conversation, I told him that if he ever wants to do anything seriously romantic with someone else beyond just hooking up, it can't be tied to being drunk because that isn't a good way to start off a healthy relationship. Then he said, I know, that's why I want to tell you now that I like you. I froze upon hearing this. I wasn't expecting him to be so forward. When he saw how uncomfortable I was, he quickly said, What is it? When I still didn't say anything, he said that if I don't feel the same way, that's okay. If he made me uncomfortable just now, he was really sorry. He said he just figured that he should tell me this now while he was sober. I told him I wasn't interested in him in that way. He looked disappointed, but he said that it was okay. I told him that he really needs to get help for his developing drinking problem, or what is already a drinking problem, and although he didn't say anything to that, he looked like he was thinking about it. Things were kind of awkward for a few seconds until he asked me why I thought he put the bottles there. I admitted that I thought it was a romantic gesture and that because of that, it creeped me out. He burst out laughing. First, he apologized for creeping me out. Then he said that if it was going to be romantic, he would at least give me wine, not vodka. He added that if he was going to try and be romantic in general, he wouldn't take the alcohol approach, considering that I don't drink at all. We joked around a bit more and soon the conversation turned to other things. Eventually we said goodbye and he left. I didn't expect things to turn out this way, but I was relieved to hear that the bottles were just a joke, especially because he was drunk when he did it. He even offered to talk to the RA for me, which I think is a good sign. I'm also satisfied that I had the opportunity to bring up his drinking problem to him. It really seemed like no one else has ever brought it up to him before, which is sad, but at least it happened now. As for him having feelings for me, now that I know the bottles were a joke, I feel less creeped out. I think the fact that he was drunk while he did it, and that he didn't mention the note, and that he can only do seriously romantic things with girls when he's drunk, point to him being socially awkward more than anything else. And because of that, I'm no longer seriously uncomfortable. I no longer think that he was trying to get in my pants, or even if he was, he isn't trying anymore. He literally said that he wanted to tell me that he likes me while he was sober. All this time he might have been telling girls that he likes them while he was drunk, and it always ended badly, so he decided to do things differently this time around. Who knows? But I didn't tell him that I don't want to be friends. I'm still thinking about it, just that I'm not romantically interested. I know that I said I don't want to be friends with him anymore when I originally posted, but that was when I was freaking out and before all of this happened. So I hope some of you understand why I'm still mulling it over. Also, just to reiterate, him calling me a teetotaler doesn't bother me at all. The only things that bothered me were him pressuring me to drink, which he did once and then never did again, then him putting the bottles in front of my door, which turned out to be a joke that he apologized for. If him calling me a teetotaler bothered me or if it felt derogatory to me, I would have told him to stop. It never feels that way to me. It always feels like a joke or friendly teasing, both of which I don't mind. I understand and appreciate the concerns of the speech team and some of the people who commented on my original post, but honestly, it's not a big deal. That's all I have. Thank you everyone for helping me out. Edits, just wanted to add, I'm not an idiot as some of you seem to believe. It's not like I think Dylan's apologies and the story behind his alcoholism make me think he's an A-OK guy. That deserves to be trusted. I never told him that I want to be friends, and I never said that I still want to be his friend. Just that I was thinking about it. Obviously I've decided to keep my distance from him now, after reading all the comments, but just because I'm 18 and Dylan is 22, doesn't mean I'm not aware of the senior guy preying on freshman girls scenario. I don't live under a rock, people. I appreciate the concern everyone has for me, but please keep comments about me being naive to yourself, and not only on this post, but all over r/relationships, because I read this sub regularly, and comments that personally target the OP without offering any advice only drive them away when they came here for help. But now, I'm going to turn this one straight to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.